We were at a housewarming for Megan, my MIL, Mike, my FIL, and William, my BIL's family. The table was set with luxurious appetizers. It was about time for the meal. But Megan headed towards the kitchen and brought back something. She handed it to me. What is this? The item given to me was instant ramen. Can't you see? It's instant ramen. Nicole, please eat this. I was dumbfounded by the turn of events. What on earth was Megan talking about? Ignoring my confusion, she continued with a cool face. I wasn't informed about Nicole coming. Unfortunately, these appetizers are only enough for the family. My in-laws laughed heartily. The William family also laughed as if they found it amusing. Are they saying I'm not considered family? I was so shocked, I couldn't even speak, only shiver. Then, my husband John, who was sitting beside me, stood up. Shall we go home? At his words, I snapped back to reality and nodded. Yes. There was no point in staying in such a house any longer. My in-laws were smirking nastily. Ignoring their presence, we left the house. However, none of us could have imagined the incredible events that were about to unfold. My name is Nicole, I'm 43 years old. I live with John and our daughter Sarah. John works for a medical device manufacturer, and Sarah has just started middle school this year. I work a part-time job stocking shelves at a supermarket. We are a perfectly ordinary, unremarkable family. But even I have my troubles. It's the strained relationship with my in-laws. Their house is about a 10-minute drive from ours. But unless it's something really important, I doubt I'd visit. And for good reason. After such terrible treatment, there's no way we could be on good terms. Moreover, there are other people who trouble me. William, John's brother, and his family. John is a twin. The older one is William. The younger one, John. Perhaps because he was born first, it seemed like William always had a one-up on John from the beginning. As a result, my in-laws tended to dote on William more. Fortunately, John has a mild nature and would honestly acknowledge, William is more put together than I am, and didn't seem to mind the parental favoritism. But this skewed relationship continued even after they each got married. And eventually, it started affecting his wife, me, and our daughter, Sarah. 14 years ago. I married John, my longtime classmate. John is very gentle and kind. When I heard he had a twin, I imagined his brother must be a wonderful person too. But that wasn't the case. Nor could I have imagined that the in-laws, let alone the brother, were the worst kind of people. Around the same time, William married Brittany, a classmate from university. Brittany, William's wife, came from a wealthy family that ran a construction business. My in-laws welcomed her. Brittany loves flashy and brand name things. She clicked with my in-laws, who also love new and flashy things. As for me, I come from a very ordinary middle-class family, nothing special. Of course, I never missed greeting them and tried to approach them with politeness and a smile right from the first meeting. But my in-laws would compare Brittany and me, belittling me. Nicole is so plain. Really, John could have chosen someone less bland. Compared to Brittany, there's no flair or brilliance. Can't be helped. After all, if John is lackluster, he can't marry someone with any remarkable qualities. Just like that, they would casually say things that seemed like nothing but unreasonable accusations. My in-laws blatantly favored William. John and his wife, me, were also treated as inferior. I was fed up but managed to endure it by ignoring their comments. A year later, Brittany and I gave birth to daughters in the same year. Both girls. My daughter is Sarah. Brittany's daughter was named Hannah. I was happy just that Sarah was born, but my in-laws were not. They seemed eager to complain, hurling terrible words at us. One way or another, compared to Brittany's child, Nicole's child is ugly. That's true. Hannah is adorable, but Sarah has big nostrils and a weird face. Well, she must resemble Nicole. Poor thing. This was something I couldn't forgive. I could still bear it if it was just about me, but there was no reason for them to talk about Sarah. Megan, Mike, Sarah is still a baby. Please stop saying bad things about her looks. Oh, but it's the truth. Nicole, you shouldn't be jealous of Brittany and her daughter. What? That's not it at all. I retorted immediately, but they didn't take me seriously. Mike tried to calm us down. I thought he was intervening on our behalf, but that was not the case. Nicole, I understand you're upset about being told the truth, but you have to gracefully admit when you're inferior, like John does. What are these people talking about? I was astounded. I wonder if John has always felt this way. Being compared to William. He once said, "Mom and Dad love William." Well, I'm used to it, so it doesn't bother me much. When the in-laws made snide remarks, it was often directed at me alone. So, John probably doesn't know that even I am being demeaned to that extent. I thought about talking to John, but after all, they are his parents. I didn't want to make things awkward going forward. Angry as I was, I decided to calm down for now. I should minimize my interaction with my in-laws. Eventually, the children will grow up. Then, the gatherings at the in-laws' house that happen every so often will eventually cease. That's what I thought. But the situation took an unexpected turn. Time passed, and Sarah became a middle schooler. I'm home. Sarah came home, her voice lacking its usual energy. Welcome back. What's wrong? You seem down. Yeah, I saw Hannah at school today. Hannah is Sarah's cousin. The William family lives near us. Though they went to different elementary schools, they ended up at the same middle school due to district zoning. Sarah and Hannah are in different classes, but being in the same grade, they sometimes see each other around school. The William family, though not as much as the in-laws, looks down on our family. William mocks John, and Brittany is haughty. Their daughter Hannah is no exception. It seems Hannah bragged to Sarah the first chance she got. There was a party at Grandma's house recently. It was to celebrate me entering middle school. I got so many presents. That's what I was told. Sarah was surprised to hear that. Sarah had also started middle school the same year, yet there was no party, not even a congratulatory word from the in-laws. I've started middle school too, but nothing, right? Hey, why do Grandma and Grandpa hate us? Well, that's... Sarah looked sad. I was at a loss for words. I hadn't explained the situation with the in-laws in detail to Sarah, but she seemed to have sensed it somehow. My heart ached for making her feel this way. Though I had decided not to involve myself with the in-laws anymore, seeing Sarah's face made me restless. I grabbed my smartphone and impulsively called the in-laws. Hello, Megan! Oh, if it isn't Nicole. It's been quite a while. Megan's carefree voice came through the phone, irritating me. I heard from Hannah. You threw a party to celebrate her entering middle school, and she got lots of presents. Sarah has started middle school too, but nothing? Don't you think that's a bit harsh? Megan seemed surprised by my comment. Oh, well, we haven't heard from you and Nicole in a while. We thought you didn't want anything to do with us anymore. That's because you all keep saying hurtful things. I don't remember saying such things. Besides, we've already sent Sarah's present. Sent? What do you mean? Just then, a courier arrived at the house. Sarah went to receive the package. I gestured for Sarah to open it while still holding my smartphone to my ear. When we opened the cardboard box, we were shocked.
What is this?
Inside was an old elementary school textbook. The name section was filled in with Hannah. It appeared to be Hannah's used textbook.
What is this supposed to be?
What do you mean? I heard from Hannah. It seems Sarah's grades aren't very good. I wonder who she takes after in not being smart. John? Or Nicole? Either way, maybe instead of starting middle school, she should re-enroll in elementary school? Megan laughed heartily at her own joke. Sarah's grades were not particularly bad. Probably, Hannah had just spread something amusing she made up. And this textbook was likely something they were planning to throw away. Whether Megan's loud voice came through the phone or not, Sarah was shaking with anger. This was unforgivable.
Megan! It's fine if you mock me, but please stop doing such terrible things to Sarah.
Oh, scary, scary. With all that anger, I'm sure you're getting more wrinkles by the day. Brittany, on the other hand, seems to be getting younger and more beautiful. Megan went on and on. There was no point in continuing the conversation. I hung up the phone. My anger was boiling over. I had kept silent because I didn't want to destroy the relationship, but I had reached my limit. I told John everything.
Can you believe what happened? I've put up with a lot, thinking they're your parents. But making fun of Sarah too, that's unforgivable.
John was silent for a moment, his face a mix of emotions. Then he spoke. So, Nicole and Sarah have been subjected to this too. I've been told off plenty in the past, always compared to William and told I was inferior. I got so used to it, I became numb, pretending it didn't affect me. But for them to say such things to you and Sarah, that's going too far. I'll speak up clearly. I'm glad you understand, John. I felt relieved. But I was also anxious that it might be pointless for John to say anything now. Unfortunately, my fears were realized. It's no use, they don't understand, and nothing's been resolved. After several calls to the in-laws, John looked defeated. I guess it was futile after all. With the way things were, a few words from us weren't going to change anything. We don't have to force ourselves to deal with my mom and dad anymore. I'll step in when something comes up. John said, so I decided gratefully to do just that. Now, we wouldn't have to deal with those people anymore. Or so I thought. A while later, we heard that the in-laws were building a new house to live in with William's family. Brittany's family runs a construction company, so it seems they're handling the building. We had already built a small but lovely house for ourselves at a local shop. It's a modest home, but we like it. What the in-laws decide to do with their house is none of our business. That's what I thought, not paying much mind to it. But a few days later, when I was buying ingredients for dinner at the supermarket. Oh, if it isn't Nicole.
Ah, Brittany.
I thought it was unfortunate to run into someone unpleasant. The William family lives not too far from us. Our living areas overlap, so I usually try to shop at stores further away. But the place I usually go to was closed today, so I ended up at the nearby supermarket. To run into Brittany just then was unlucky. It's been a while. We hardly see each other, do we? Yes, well. Do you know? Our new house will be finished next month. We're having a housewarming party, and I'd really like you to come. But I'm not exactly liked by Megan and the others. As I instinctively backed away, Brittany moved closer. What are you talking about? That's not true. Megan and the others are just misunderstanding. I'll talk to them for you. Brittany kept going. Besides, I've been feeling lonely, living so close yet hardly seeing you and your family. Hannah says the same. She wants to play with Sarah. It's a good opportunity to deepen our bond. Well. Ignoring my hesitation, Brittany forcefully continued the conversation, insisting we would be welcome. Eventually, I was overwhelmed and nodded. That night, I shared what happened today with Sarah and John. I was surprised, but John said, "If Nicole is going, I'll go too." Sarah joined in, and eventually, the three of us decided to attend the housewarming party. Certainly, the thought of meeting my in-laws was depressing. However, since Brittany said she would back us up with the in-laws, resolving any lingering awkwardness couldn't hurt. With that in mind, we visited my in-laws' house the following month as a family. The in-laws and William's family's house, which I saw for the first time, was very impressive. It was very spacious and stood out as the most noticeable in the neighborhood. When we rang the doorbell, Brittany appeared. "Welcome." With a beaming smile, Brittany led us to the living room. "Come on, have a seat. Megan, Nicole's family is here." At Brittany's call, the in-laws came from the back room towards us. Then, the in-laws looked surprised. "Oh, Nicole's family came too?" Yes, well. What's this? I wasn't informed." Eh? What does she mean by not informed? Brittany said she would talk to the in-laws about us. Seeing my confusion, Brittany, William, and Hannah smirked sarcastically. A bad premonition crossed my mind. Could it be? Ignoring my uneasy expression, everyone started to get excited about the house. It was just a boastful talk about how much effort was put into the design, praised by the neighbors, how much money was spent here and there, mostly lowbrow topics. Moreover, while bragging about their house, they started belittling ours. "You guys managed to relax in such a cramped house, huh?" Megan laughed smugly. John tried to interject, but it was futile. Brittany, who was supposed to back us up, completely ignored us, or rather, joined the in-laws in belittling us. Unbelievable. It was too late when I realized we were set up. "Let's start dinner soon," Megan said, looking at the luxurious appetizers placed at the corner of the table. The appetizers looked very tempting, and everyone seemed excited. But Megan stood up and went towards the back of the kitchen. She brought something to me. What is this? It was instant ramen. Can't you see? It's instant ramen. Nicole, please eat this. The appetizers are not for you. I couldn't believe Megan's words and thought I misheard. I blinked repeatedly, stunned. What are you saying, Mom? There's plenty of appetizers right there. John immediately raised his voice. But Megan continued with a cool face. I wasn't informed about Nicole. Unfortunately, these appetizers are only enough for the family. The in-laws laughed mockingly. Brittany and her family also laughed as if it was amusing. Brittany had lied about backing us up with the in-laws and lured me into this house. They intended to mock us from the start. Am I not considered family? I was so shocked I couldn't even speak, just tremble. Then, John, who was sitting, stood up. Shall we go? At his words, I came to my senses and nodded. Yes. There was no point in staying in such a house any longer. I was foolish to trust Brittany. Since they're even living together, it's clear she's on the in-laws' side. Regretting, I stood up. John was already preparing to leave at the entrance. Sarah was also packing her things. Then, William approached the entrance and said to John, John, you're as simple-minded as ever. Just play nice with Mom and Dad. Then, maybe they would have let you eat a little. He laughed vulgarly. William, that's low. I'm disappointed. John said coldly, then opened the front door. Glancing back, Hannah, hidden by William, stuck her tongue out at Sarah. Sarah ignored her. She must have thought it pointless to engage. There's no deepening of ties with such a family. This is how we left the in-laws' house. Returning to our own home felt reassuring. Despite being called small and cheap, our home is the best to us.
Are you okay, Sarah?
I was concerned for Sarah. Yeah, I don't care at all. I won't be hurt by such low-level people, Sarah said bravely, and I felt relieved.
Oh.
At that moment, Sarah seemed to realize something. What's wrong?
I left my smartphone at their house. What should I do?
Oh, I see. Then, I'll call and ask for it. The thought of speaking to those people again made me hesitant, but it was unavoidable. Just as I was about to take out my smartphone to call. Outside seemed to be a disaster. And tornado? I muttered, and immediately John said,
Nicole, Sarah, close the window.
John shouted, and recalls the window as quick as possible. The whole house was shaking intensely. It was like as if an earthquake happening. It seemed like dishes might fall from the cupboard at any moment. Fortunately, the shake stopped after a few minutes.
Is everyone okay?
I asked, and they both nodded. Luckily, it seemed like only a few things had fallen from the shelves. We quickly turned on the TV, and every channel was reporting the tornado sudden happened. It was quite a big one, and the epicenter was shown to be in this area. We looked at each other. Thoughts of my in-laws and William's family crossed my mind. I hoped they were safe, but just in case. And we had to retrieve Sarah's smartphone anyway. I'll check on them. I dialed from my smartphone. But Megan didn't pick up at all. John also tried calling William, but only the call tone echoed. I have a bad feeling about this. Let's go check it out. So, we went back to my in-laws' house again. I didn't want to see those unpleasant people, but I couldn't sleep well thinking something might have happened. What we saw was astonishing. The house was completely collapsed. There was no trace of the newly built two-story house, only chunks of concrete. Furniture was scattered everywhere, gone. It was a level of devastation that could be called a disaster. When we looked for my in-laws and William's family, they were standing dazed in front of the road. They seemed to have managed to escape to other place. They didn't appear to be injured. Just as we felt relieved, Megan screamed,
Our house! Why did this happen?
Megan collapsed to her knees. And Mike supported her without a word.
Damn it! We still have a mortgage to pay.
William was furiously scratching his head.
My expensive brand bags, my clothes.
Brittany was crying. Hannah was just standing there in shock. What on earth happened? Sure, the tornado was big. But our house wasn't damaged at all. The homes in this area seemed fine too.
John! Your house must have blown away from the tornado too, right?
Noticing us, William approached. No way. The only house that is blown away is yours.
Why? Why did our new house is gone, but yours is fine?
William seemed frantic, almost lashing out at John. Soon, neighbors gathered around, making it a commotion. It seems that most houses were not damaged by the tornado. Only very old houses or similar were affected, and some people were heading to shelters.
A shelter? Like in a school gym? I don't want to sleep there with everyone.
Suddenly, Megan started to make a fuss. It can't be helped, your house is gone. John muttered in disbelief, and Megan retorted.
That's right. John's house is fine, right? Let us stay at your place.
No way. John looked down at Megan with a cold gaze.
That's right, Megan.
I stepped forward and said with a smile.
Who was it that endlessly ridiculed our small, unfashionable, plain, and boring house?
Megan was at a loss for words.
It's still better than the shelter, Megan.
Brittany, holding Megan's shoulder, with a rude comment, irritated me.
To come here and say such a thing after everything. There's no way we would let people with such rotten hearts onto our property. Our home would get dirty with you all here. What did you say? I'll say it as many times as needed. People who can only put others down are the lowest.
Brittany was still ranting, but there was no end to it, so I ignored her.
Sarah, did you find your smartphone?
When I asked Sarah, she was staring at the smartphone Hannah was holding. That's my smartphone, isn't it? You were probably trying to snoop through it or play a prank on it since I left it behind. Then the tornado hit, and you panicked and took it with you, right? Caught in the act, Hannah fell silent.
Is Hannah's smartphone inside? Too bad, it's crushed. Lucky for me, mine is safe.
Sarah quickly snatched her smartphone back from a flustered Hannah and ran back to me.
Shall we go, Mom?
Yes. Goodbye, everyone. Ignoring the stunned in-laws and William's family, we quickly headed home. Though I felt sorry for them losing their bragged-about house overnight, who knows what they would do if we invited them into our home. It's best not to get involved with those people after all. Seeing John and Sarah relaxing at home made me want to protect this happiness from being disturbed. A few days later, we learned the truth behind why the newly built house of my in-laws collapsed. The construction was handled by Brittany's family's construction company, which was notorious for cutting corners. They used cheap materials for essential safety features, reduced the number of bolts, and did the bare minimum. It seems Brittany's house was no exception, and several other houses built by her family's company also collapsed in the tornado. Construction costs to increase their profits. They saved on material. It was odd for a new house to collapse. All show and no substance. Just like the in-laws and William's family. They brought it upon themselves. After knowing the circumstances, I couldn't muster any sympathy for them. Following an investigation, Brittany's parents were arrested for violating building standards laws. And the company went bankrupt. As for my in-laws and William's family, they ended up staying in a shelter. Despite their reluctance, they had nowhere else to go. In this small community, the news about Brittany's company spread. And they must be living narrow-mindedly as the family of a corrupt construction company. William occasionally called John to complain about being pointed at in the shelter, saying it was hard to stay there, but it was all their own doing coming back to haunt them. It was nothing but astonishing. Anyway, we could finally have peaceful days. I thought so. That's what I thought until one day. John's phone vibrated.
Hello, it's me. Yeah, okay.
From John's tone, it seemed like something bad had happened.
What's wrong? Did something happen?
I asked right as he hung up.
Well, it seems my parents got food poisoning from the meal provided at the shelter. It was quite severe, and they had to be hospitalized. Really?
It appeared that all 5 of them, my in-laws, William, Brittany, and Hannah, were affected. Such a rare occurrence.
They're on the mend, though. But their attitudes are as bad as ever.
John chuckled wryly. As soon as they felt a bit better, they audaciously asked for something delicious to be brought to them.
What? They're still saying things like that. What do they think of us?
Should we give them what they want? John smirked devilishly.
No, that's awful.
Then, we'll bring that. John pointed at something in the kitchen.
Ah, I see.
Seeing it, I grinned, understanding the plan. It would be interesting to bring them a get-well gift. Thus, we were on our way to the hospital where my in-laws were admitted. We visited the room as directed at the reception. By chance, the entire family was in the same room.
John! Nicole! I've been waiting for you!
Megan exclaimed dramatically upon noticing us. She seemed a bit thinner, but her complexion was good. Really, first the house collapses, then food poisoning. It's like we're cursed. Mike spoke despondently. William, Brittany, and Hannah looked utterly weakened and pale. Still connected to 4 drips, seemingly lacking the energy to converse. Being unwell is one thing, but for Brittany, her parents' arrest and their bankruptcy must be taking a significant toll.
By the way, did you bring what I asked for? I want to drink shark fin soup. And a tart from that famous shop is too good to pass up.
Megan chatted away, to which I showed a smile. Megan, I brought you something even better, I said, handing over something I brought from home. It was instant ramen.
What? What is this?
You said it yourself, Megan. Instant ramen for those who are not family. So, I prepared it too. Megan tried to retort, opening and closing her mouth. Everyone is still weak, right? They can't eat proper food, so buying anything else is a waste. Instant ramen that lasts is more practical. Eat it when you recover, said John with a smile as he handed Mike the instant ramen. Here, this is for William. The thing handed to him was, of course, instant ramen as well. You like new things, right? It's a new flavor. Mayo taste. Exciting, isn't it? William looked at the instant ramen with a pale face, seemingly too drained to retort. I handed Brittany her instant ramen.
You like luxurious things, right? Instant ramen that celebrities eat. It fits you perfectly, though I don't know what it tastes like, I said with a forced smile, to which Brittany glared at me resentfully. Even her stare didn't bother me anymore. Sarah also handed Hannah her instant ramen with a smile. Hannah likes sweets, right? Here's chocolate-flavored instant ramen from me. Here you go. Hannah looked like she was about to cry. Well, we're going to head back, John said, as if to conclude their visit. Sarah and I followed suit. But after a moment of thought, I stopped and turned back. Mike said it seemed like you were cursed, but I think it's all your own doing. You're just reaping what you've sown. Bad things happen because you did bad things.
The in-laws and William's family looked frustrated. This felt like a punishment for all the times they had belittled us. I hope they reflect on their foolish actions a bit while in the hospital. On our way back, John said, Anyway, it was a good thing we kept those various flavors of instant ramen we got from the party bingo game. They were too exotic to try eating.
Who knew they'd come in handy like this? They were useful.
We laughed together. After about a week, the in-laws were discharged from the hospital. It was thought they would return to the shelter, but that was not possible. Everyone at the shelter refused to let the in-laws come back. We later heard from the neighbors that the in-laws had behaved terribly at the shelter too, disliked by everyone. The reason for their food poisoning was hoarding the food for themselves, eating it little by little even as it got older. It was just as I thought. They had sown the seeds themselves. I had assumed Brittany was living narrowly due to the fallout from her family's company, being viewed coldly by those around. But their shameless and ignorant behavior didn't change even at the shelter. Taking up a large space for their family, complaining about the treatment and causing trouble for those around them. As a result, even after being discharged, they were refused return to the original shelter. A fitting end for them, indeed. After that, it seems they resorted to the government for help and ended up living in an apartment they were referred to, which turned out to be laughably old. They decided to huddle together in a cheap, old apartment, all 5 of them. But the bad luck didn't stop there. The in-laws were so weakened by their hospital stay that they could barely walk. William and Brittany have been spending their days taking care of the in-laws. Yet, the in-laws, being quite vocal, constantly complained. Eventually, it seems arguments became incessant. Hannah, sensing the poor atmosphere at home, completely lost her spirit. According to Sarah, she's recently stopped going to school and only attends occasionally now. Where did her usual confident demeanor go? On the rare occasions she is seen, she appears to have become enveloped in a gloomy air. Living with that family, it's no surprise. Cutting ties with them early on was the right decision. We are living happily now. A life free from being compared or ridiculed is very reassuring. Our home is modest and small, and neither I nor my family have any special talents. But happiness is certainly here. It's not about money or luxurious brands. It's the warmth in the heart that comes from interacting with a loving family with compassion. Without needing to compare ourselves to anyone, an ordinary happiness is attainable. As long as the in-laws don't understand that, they'll probably remain unhappy. Our home is filled with laughter today, as well. John and Sarah seem to have brighter smiles than before. I quietly hope in my heart that this happiness lasts forever. I prayed quietly in the back of my mind.